Technology has been introduced into the political world relatively recently. In the presidential campaign of 1992, electronic town halls were proposed, which were initially discussed in the 1960s. To add on, by the 1970s, almost all major political events were televised. As information technology has been continuously developing, our politics have been getting worse, and our elected officials are more divided.
Some of the highest populated countries in the world have shockingly low percentages of internet users. For example, Bangladesh has 13.2 internet penetration in their population, and Afghanistan has 6.8%. Over one third of the world's countries have less than 30% internet penetration in their population, whereas only 18 countries have above 90%. In fact, India, which is the largest democracy in the world, only has 34.8 internet penetration in their population. Canada and US both have 88.5% internet penetration in the population. All of these statistics shows us that various countries thus lack the necessary infrastructure required to bridge the digital divide. This has in turn crippled the democracy in these countries.
Daily time spent on social media by internet users worldwide was about 135 minutes in 2017. This number has been growing rapidly since 2012. This highlights the importance of the role the internet plays in people's lives. Those who lack internet access are therefore missing out on extremely vital information. India and Thailand are both democracies. However, just like China, they have increased filtering and monitoring of the internet. In doing so, the government is limiting their citizens' right to be able to express their views, which in turn is reducing democracy. Thailand has blocked as many as 100,000 websites for allegedly posting offensive content towards a Thai king. Since the internet is becoming the predominant way for people to share information and news, restricting access to sites decided by the government is creating a digital divide amongst various countries, which in turn is hurting democracy.
Various social media websites have also taken it upon themselves to block several posts, pages, and accounts, resulting in creation of digital divide, since the information is not being shared completely. This results in manipulation of various political views and thus creating a lasting negative impact on democracy. Various forms of digital divide are thus a very real threat to democracy.
As mentioned previously, the time that people spend on social media or internet is generally increasing. The platforms are extremely user friendly, which makes it easier for people to share their thoughts or content to millions of people with just a click. For example, through Facebook's Ad Manager, you're able to select your audience by defining parameters such as their browsing behavior, age group, or geolocation. This can be a huge threat to democracy as organizations can run campaigns to show false or politically unsafe content to millions of people. And as users, you have no control on which organization can target you for their content. For example, during the US election, more than 126 million American Facebook users were targeted by the Russians, which affected voters' line of thinking. Furthermore, there were also reports that Russian hackers made fake identities across the social media platform to pursue people online through posts, comments, or organizing events on various political topics.
As the algorithms and AI technology enter mainstream social media, more content is tailored specifically to your interests. This censors parts of the story, and the users don't get to hear the other side of the narrative. Social media platforms on the internet can choose what information is relevant to you based on your geolocation, browsing history, and personal interests. Hence, people are not allowed to think freely, and it promotes biased opinions on various topics, which includes politics. Furthermore, tweets, texting, and small snippets of news have made the next generation more emotionally attached to micro soundbites and one liners. This doesn't allow for proper debate and explanation of the point of views. This also encourages politicians to express themselves in short blurbs rather than explaining their position in an article. It seems like talent for speech delivery and having an appealing outlook or appearance is more crucial than being familiar with global issues, experience, and leadership qualities.
A looming uncertainty has been seen over the past few years as data analytics has become more and more intelligent. Facebook, Google, Apple, Twitter, and many more companies have years of data on millions of people, which can and have been used to influence our behavior. One such example is that of the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, in which data from 87 million Facebook profiles were taken and used for political purposes in the 2016 US election. A general overview of the situation is that a researcher from the University of Cambridge created a Facebook quiz that allowed the collection of data from the quiz writer and all of their friends. This information was then given to Cambridge Analytics who worked with the Trump campaign as a political consultant. This situation illustrates the power of data analytics. From your Facebook data, Cambridge Analytica categorized you in specific personality groups tailored towards your emotions and fears. For example, in the case of the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, which Trump had politically advocated for, if you were categorized as an adventurer, you would get advertisements about how guns were important to protect us from outside threats. If you were categorized as a planner, you would get advertisements about how guns were essential to keeping your family safe.
Similarly, the 2016 Brexit referendum was the result of a large population of voters being fed large amounts of targeted political advertisements and fake news regarding the benefits of leaving the European Union and the false statistics of violent illegal immigrants. The entire Brexit campaign was then offered as a solution to such hyperbolized issues and as a spearhead effort for the rejection of globalization. Such ads were backed by multiple firms, including Cambridge Analytica, that used data collected by Facebook to target individuals that were deemed susceptible to such forms of psychological manipulation on a mass scale. In both instances of the 2016 US election and Brexit, electoral democracy was destabilized through the subversion of truth by hostile parties using massive data collection and analytics that was only made available as a result of the onset of information technology.
If data analytics can already go into this much detail about our lives without strict regulations on what can and cannot be logged, democracy will be jeopardized.
One major factor to consider when looking at how IT is destroying the electoral democracy system is data security. Two ways in which data security can be threatened during elections are the release of private information that could sway voters' opinions and the potential misuse of electronic voting machines.
For instance, during the 2016 presidential race, WikiLeaks released emails and documents accessed from private servers to expose information that could sway voters. This poses a risk to democracy because it undermines national stability and security in the eyes of the public.
Furthermore, Russia is accused by the US of having interfered in their most recent elections. Russia hacked personal accounts of government officials and published private information in an attempt to influence the outcome of the election. This is a major concern because an international government is interfering with the national election, thus posing a major threat to the core values of a democracy.
Another way that democracy is threatened by IT is through electronic voting machines. DEF CON held a hacking conference to test the security measures on new voting machines for the upcoming midterm elections in the US. The researchers found that the election results could easily be compromised by malicious voters who hack their voting cards, which would allow them to vote multiple times. In addition, the hardware could easily be tampered with as the system used low security measures such as default passwords and neglecting to install locks or tamper-proof seals.
Thus, threats to data security have the potential to destroy democracy, whether through the release of private information or manipulation of voter data. Although the idea of information technology has many benefits, it can be said that its increased presence and reliance on social media and politics is in fact hurting democracy in many ways. The best way to cope with this problem is to regulate the use of information technology and allow the structure of democracy to adapt to the changing technologies. Unfortunately, this is not the case. We do not possess a solution at this time, but we must find ways to preserve the features of democracy while minimizing the negative consequences to allow modern science and technology to have a positive impact.